Hello students, welcome to economics class session 3. I hope all of you are staying safe at home during this pandemic. Before starting this session, don't forget to keep your points book with you so that you can take necessary points and a pencil to follow the diagrams. In the previous sessions, we have started with the new chapter, that is theory of consumers' behavior. In this chapter, we study about individual consumer. A consumer is the one who consumes goods and services to fulfill his wants. Normally, a consumer faces problem while he is consuming goods, like which goods should be purchased. Economists call this problem as problem of choice. And also, most commonly, the consumer always chooses a bundle or a commodity which offers him an highest level of satisfaction. And it depends upon his likes and his preferences. A consumer always chooses a particular good or a bundle of good based on his preferences and his tastes. And consumers' consumption also depends upon one more important thing, that is consumers' purchasing power. It's nothing but consumers' income. In this particular chapter, we are going to study about consumers' behavior by using two different approaches, that is cardinal utility analysis and ordinal utility analysis. In previous sessions, you have already gone through this cardinal utility analysis. Before going into the session, so in this session we are going to discuss about the following topics: ordinal utility analysis, indifference curve, shape of indifference curve, and marginal rate of substitution. If you can remember some of the basic concepts which we discussed in previous session, like who is a consumer? As I said already, a consumer is a person who consumes goods and services to satisfy his wants. Another question, what is consumption? Consumption is a process of consuming goods and services to satisfy individuals' wants. And then we discussed about what do you mean by utility. In a very simple meaning, utility is nothing but inner satisfaction. Whenever the consumer wants to satisfy his wants, he consumes various goods and services. The reason is these goods and services will have a capacity to fulfill the wants and needs of the consumer. So which means that it's clear that all the goods and services will have the capacity or a power to satisfy human wants. This satisfying capacity or the satisfying power of a commodity is referred as utility. For example, if a person is feeling hungry, he takes food, which means the food has the capacity to fulfill the wants of the consumer. If a consumer is wearing cloth, that cloth has capacity to fulfill the needs of that consumer. If you are using a bicycle, that bicycle has a capacity to fulfill your wants. Likewise, all the goods and services which is used by the consumers will have capacity to fulfill one or another need. So this capacity of a good is referred as utility. And also you can remember that utility is subjective concept. It varies from person to person, it varies from place to place, and also it varies from time to time. And it's very important to note that utility is a psychological feeling. It's the inner happiness of a person. One can feel, but it's very difficult to express it in terms of numbers. The consumer, when he consumes the goods or services, he feels inner happiness. That inner happiness can be feel, but whereas he cannot express it in terms of numbers. Even though it is very difficult to measure utility in terms of numbers, various economists tried different methods to calculate the utility. In that, the two important methods are, one is cardinal utility approach and ordinal utility approach. To begin with, you know what is cardinal utility approach already. So it is basically introduced by Professor Alfred Marshall. According to this method, it's very easy to calculate the utility in terms of quantitative numbers like 1, 2, 3 and so on. So under this method, whatever the satisfaction level received by a consumer can be put into numbers so that you can study the utility of different commodities. Say for example, if a consumer is consuming an apple, so he can express whatever the satisfaction he receives from that apple in terms of quantitative numbers. Say like 10 units. Or if a consumer is paying 10 rupees for that apple, he is expecting around 10 units of utility from that. So which means that here it is very easy way to calculate the utility in terms of units, measurable units, quantitative units like 10 units. See, it looks like very easy to understand and very easy way to calculate the utility from the goods and services. But it is widely criticized by various economists. Because the reason is very simple. In our real life, we never express utility in the form of numbers. You just remember, can you express whatever the satisfaction you are feeling when you get a cup of coffee from your mother? Can you express that satisfaction you derive from that cup of coffee in terms of numbers? Can you say, I got 8 points of utility from this cup of coffee? Can you say how much satisfaction you got by wearing your favorite cloth in terms of numbers? Can you say how much of utility you have got from the bicycle which you like the most in terms of numbers? It looks very difficult and it looks very unrealistic to calculate the utility and to express the utility in terms of quantitative numbers. Because of this reason, the cardinal utility approach widely criticized by many economists. Economists like J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen, they came with another approach called ordinal utility approach. It looks more realistic approach because According to them, utility cannot be calculated, but it can only be compared. I repeat, utility cannot be calculated, it can only be compared. So, according to this ordinal utility approach, it's very difficult to calculate one's inner happiness in terms of numbers. It looks unrealistic. But a consumer can rank the goods from highest ranks to the lowest rank based on his preferences over those goods and services. It looks more realistic comparative to cardinal utility analysis. And also, it looks more realistic to compare between two goods rather than calculating utility in numbers. If I give you two goods, say X and Y, based on your preferences, you can rank those two goods, whether you prefer X or you can prefer Y. To understand this ordinal utility easily, let us consider this example. Suppose there are four goods: a pen, a book, a dress or a cloth, and a mobile. For a random consumer, if you ask him to rank these goods based on his preferences, just look at this example. A random consumer asked to rank these goods based on his preferences. Here you can see that out of these four goods, he has given the highest rank, that is first rank, for cloth. He has given second rank for the book, followed by pen and mobile. First rank being the highest rank and the fourth rank being the lowest rank in this particular example, it's clear to say that the consumer is expecting the highest level of utility from cloth and the lowest level of utility from mobile. Or you can compare between these goods itself. You can say that cloth is giving more utility than all other goods, whereas book is giving more utility than pen and mobile, but less utility than cloth. Pen is giving more utility than mobile, but it is giving less utility than book and cloth. So like this, under this ordinal utility analysis, we order these goods based on the ranks given by rational consumer. It's entirely depend upon his tastes and preferences. It is very important to know that what makes a consumer to choose a particular good or a bundle. Just think about yourself. What makes you to purchase a particular brand pen? What makes you to purchase a particular brand book? What makes you to purchase a particular brand bike? What makes you to purchase a particular brand necessary goods? When you try to answer these questions, we can say that it is entirely depends upon tastes and preferences of consumer. Based on his tastes and preferences, he decides to consume a particular good. But is it the only factor? No. It also depends upon the consumer's preference, also depends upon the level of satisfaction he expects from that good. and also very importantly, what is his purchasing power. But here, based on his tastes and preferences, if he can prefer some of the goods or bundle of goods, how he is going to choose? To understand that, we use indifference curve analysis. Consider this example. There is an economist. He is conducting a survey. So he has two bundles named A and B, which consists of different quantities of different goods. And he asks different consumers to choose one of these bundles. A rational consumer may have different choice while he is choosing this A bundle or B bundle. What are the choices he may have? He may choose A to B, which means he may choose A bundle against B bundle. Or he may choose B to A, which means he may choose bundle B to bundle A. The reasons may be different because of the different quantities of each good varies from A to B. Or the consumer may think that, or he may be looking for some other bundle between A and B. He may think that I don't like A or B. In between A and B, he may be looking another bundle. If it is the case, the consumer is said to be indifferent between A and B. But one thing has to be observed here. Here all the bundles are giving same level of satisfaction. Why it is giving same level of satisfaction? We are going to answer this question in our next topic. To understand the indifference curve very easily, let us consider this table. If you can observe this table, here we have given different combinations for that consumers like A, B, C and D. See, this different combination of goods consists within this combinations. Suppose if you take bundle A or combination A, it consists of two different goods, that is bananas and mangoes. So where the combination A consists of 15 units of mangoes and 1 units of banana, whereas the combination B consists of 12 units of mangoes and 2 units of banana, and the combination C 10 units of mangoes, 3 units of bananas, and combination D 9 units of mangoes and 4 units of bananas. If you observe this table very carefully, while he is moving from one bundle to another bundle, you can observe that he is getting different quantities of each goods. But the thing is, he is getting same level of satisfaction. But why he is getting same level of satisfaction? The answer is very simple. Because whenever he is moving from one bundle to another bundle, or let us go back to the table and observe it again. You just observe here that while he is moving from one combination to another combination, he is gaining one particular good, but whereas he is sacrificing some quantities of other good. You just observe, while he is moving from B to C combination, he is sacrificing 2 units of mangoes to get 1 unit of banana. While he is moving from combination C to D, he is sacrificing 1 unit of mango to get 1 unit of banana. Because of this reason, which means the sacrificing some quantities of one good to get some quantities of another good is making him to stay at same level of satisfaction. If the same table is represented in terms of diagram, it's a two-dimensional diagram. Just observe that in OY vertical axis we are representing mangoes. In OX horizontal axis we are representing banana. So here different combinations of A, B, C and D has plotted against these goods. You observe that at a combination A, he had 15 units of mangoes and 1 unit of banana. In combination B, he has 12 units of mangoes, 2 units of bananas. In combination C, he has 10 units of mangoes and 3 units of bananas. And in D combination, he has 9 units of mangoes and 4 units of bananas. A, B, C and D being locus, if we join this locus, we get left to right downward sloping curve, which is called indifference curve, represented as IC. The shape of indifference curve is convex shaped. But why it is convex shaped? Can you tell why? Again, it's very easy to say that if a consumer wants to consume a particular good, if a consumer wants to increase the consumption of a particular good, it is possible only when he sacrifices another good so that he can remain on same level of satisfaction. All the combination on this indifference curve, whether it is A, whether it is B, whether it is C or whether it is D, is giving him same level of satisfaction. Therefore, we can define indifference curve as it is a different combination of two goods which gives same level of satisfaction. As long as a consumer is staying in same indifference curve, his level of satisfaction will be same. It doesn't matter which combination he is moving. As long as he is staying in same indifference curve, all the combinations which lies on same indifference curve gives him same level of satisfaction. To further, what is the exact reason it is taking convex shape? To understand that, we must understand the concept called marginal rate of substitution. Just can you remember the table? If you observed the table very carefully, you came to know that while a consumer is gaining every additional unit of banana, he was sacrificing mangoes. But for every extra unit of banana, he was not sacrificing the same unit of mangoes. What do you mean by marginal rate of substitution? Which means that every time whenever the consumer decides to get an additional unit of banana, how much units of mangoes he was ready to sacrifice, that rate itself is called as marginal rate of substitution. Or in another word, you can say that the rate at which the consumer will substitute bananas for mangoes. He was getting 1 unit of extra unit of banana for some other units of mangoes. To express this MRS numerically, being goods Y, the mangoes, being goods X, the bananas, can see that we can calculate the MRS by delta Y divided by delta X, which means change in the quantities of mangoes divided by change in the quantities of banana. Say for example, while he was moving from one combination to another combination, suppose he was sacrificing 3 units of mangoes for 1 unit of banana. It will become delta Y is 3 and delta X is 1, and it will become 3. So he was sacrificing 3 units of mangoes. So here MRS is 3 units. But here you have to note that MRS always diminishes. Can you tell why? To understand why MRS always diminishes, you have to remember the law of diminishing marginal utility. Can you tell me what does law of diminishing marginal utility states? It says that as consumer increases the consumption of a same good continuously without giving any time gap, the additional utility derived from that variable commodity declines. Correct? Which means that if you consume a particular good, same good, one by one, the additional happiness which you derive from that additional unit of commodity declines. If you are not understanding what I am telling, just imagine that you have 10 grapes with you. You will start consuming that grapes one by one without giving any time gap. When you consume the first unit of grapes, you feel the maximum happiness. When you consume the second unit, you feel the happiness, but I am sure it won't be same as the first unit of grapes. Likewise, when you consume the third unit of grape, you still feel happy, but it won't be the same as for the second unit and the first unit. Likewise, when you keep on consuming fourth unit of grape, fifth unit, seventh, eighth, and so on, your additional happiness from that additional grapes will be declining. That is what the law of diminishing marginal utility says. The same thing applies here also. So here the consumer was getting extra unit of bananas on every combination. Can you observe? See here on the first combination, that is A, he was getting only 1 unit of banana. On the B combination, he was getting 2 units of bananas. On the C combination, he was getting 3 units, and the D combination, he was getting 4 units of bananas. Which means that he was increasing his consumption of bananas. So here the marginal utility of these additional units of bananas declines. It declines. As a result of that, he may not be ready to sacrifice the same amount of mangoes for every additional unit of bananas. If you can observe the MRS in last table, to get the first additional unit of banana, you observe that he sacrificed 3 units of mangoes to get 1 unit of banana. And again, to get one more additional unit of banana, he sacrificed only 2 units of mangoes to get 1 unit of banana. But in the last combination, he was ready to sacrifice only 1 unit of mango to get 1 unit of banana. So you can see that the MRS is decreasing. What is the reason? because the additional utility, that is marginal utility of that additional bananas started to decline. As a result of that, the marginal rate of substitution started to decline. You see in this diagram the vertical line slope. For the first extra unit he sacrificed 3, but whereas for the second unit he sacrificed only 2, for the third unit he sacrificed only 1. You can see that vertical slope of this curves. As a result of this, the indifference curve always slopes downwards from left to right, and it will be convex to the origin. I'll tell you again, the indifference curve always slopes downwards from left to right, downwards. This is because of the consumer wants to stay at same indifference curve. It is possible only when he sacrifices some amount of goods to gain another goods. And on the other hand, the marginal rate of substitution always diminishes as its marginal utility from that additional commodity declines. Because of these two reasons, the marginal rate of substitution decreases. Okay, students. So here we have come to the end of this session. So today's session we have discussed about cardinal utility approach, which means cardinal utility approach studies the utility, express the utility in terms of numbers. But it was widely criticized by many economists because the inner happiness cannot be expressed in terms of cardinal numbers. For that reason, economists like J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen came with ordinal utility analysis, which is more realistic in nature. According to ordinal utility analysis, the utility cannot be calculated, but it can only be compared. And then we came to the indifference curve analysis. What do you mean by indifference curve? It's a combination of two goods in which the consumer gets same level of satisfaction. And we discussed about why does he get same level of satisfaction. Why he gets it? Because if he wants to gain one good, he must sacrifice another good. As a result of that, his satisfaction remains same for all the combination which lies on same indifference curve. And then we discussed about MRS, marginal rate of substitution. What do you mean by marginal rate of substitution? It is the rate at which the consumer will substitute bananas for mangoes, which means in another words you can say that how much units of mangoes he was ready to sacrifice to get 1 unit of banana. That quantity is called as MRS, marginal rate of substitution. Then finally we discussed about law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. What do you mean by that? Which means whenever the consumer decides to get an additional unit of any commodity, he is ready to sacrifice lesser and lesser quantities of another quantity. If you can remember that example, he was ready to sacrifice 3 units of mangoes for the first unit of extra unit of banana. Then he was ready to sacrifice only 2 units of mangoes for that extra unit of banana. And finally he was ready to sacrifice only 1 unit of mangoes to get 1 unit of banana. Okay, students. So answer these questions and practice it. The questions will be like, differentiate between cardinal and ordinal approach. What do you mean by cardinal and ordinal approach? So cardinal approach introduced by Alfred Marshall. It expresses utility in terms of cardinal numbers. Whereas ordinal approach introduced by Professor J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen, it expresses utility in terms of ranking orders. So here utility cannot be calculated, but it can only be compared. And next question, what is an indifference curve? You know that indifference curve is a combination of two goods in which the consumer gets equal level of satisfaction. Then expand MRS, marginal rate of substitution. What is MRS? Here we are asking meaning. What is MRS? It refers to how many units of mangoes he is ready to sacrifice in order to get one extra unit of banana. And explain the indifference curve with the help of table and diagram. It may come for 4 marks. So here you have to give the meaning of indifference curve. You have to explain the table. You have to explain the diagram. And then you have to conclude it. Okay students, we have come to the end of this session. In our next session, further we will continue with monotonic preferences, indifference map, and features of indifference curve, which is very important topic. That's all for this session. I'll meet you in next session. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.